So imagine you're out on your normal everyday route, right? You're driving a delivery truck.
Okay, set in the scene.
Yeah, you check your mirrors, the road is totally clear, and suddenly this car just swoops into the lane directly in front of you and slams on the brakes.
Oh, wow.
You react, obviously, but you're driving a 10-ton truck. You can't just stop on a dime. So you tap their rear bumper.
Right, the classic fender bender.
Exactly. The adrenaline spikes, you get out to check on everyone, and it is literally just a minor scratch. I mean, we're talking a 5-mile-an-hour bump.
Barely any damage at all.
None. Everyone in the car seems totally fine. Maybe a little shaken, but they're walking around. So you exchange insurance, you file the report, and you go back to your life.
Like anyone would.
But, and here's where it gets crazy, fast forward like 6 months, the people who were sitting in that car, they are suddenly undergoing highly invasive spinal fissions.
That is quite the escalation.
Right. And your employer is suddenly getting hit with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit for devastating personal injuries.
You know, on the surface, it sounds like some incredibly rare, terrible medical anomaly.
Yeah, like the worst luck in the world.
Exactly. Like a tiny tap on the bumper causing a total spinal collapse months later. But when you actually look at the data and see this exact sequence of events happening hundreds of times.
Wait, hundreds?
Hundreds. With the exact same clinics, the exact same doctors, the exact same surgeons, the anomaly totally disappears. You are looking at a highly orchestrated system.
And that system is exactly what we have in front of us today. We are doing a deep dive into a massive piece of source material. It is a 92-page federal IUC complaint.
Which is huge.
It is. IROL stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. This was filed by the Federal Express Corporation, FedEx, on April 8, 2026, in the Southern District of New York.
It's a fascinating document.
It really is. The mission of this deep dive today is to basically unpack the mechanics detailed in this document. We want to show you how this massive alleged insurance fraud ring weaponized the medical and legal systems.
To turn those tiny, low-impact traffic bumps into, well, an absolute cash-printing machine.
Exactly. So, to understand the mechanics, we first have to look at the target. Why FedEx?
Like, FedEx is the plaintiff here, and the complaint spells out perfectly why they are the absolute ideal mark for a scheme like this. I mean, first off, they operate a massive commercial fleet.
Like over 100,000 vehicles on the road every single day, right?
Exactly. And those vehicles drive very predictable, mapped-out routes. Plus, they are heavy, they are slow to stop, and most importantly, the company carries extremely high commercial insurance policy limits.
Ah, deep pockets.
Very deep pockets. And the enterprise accused of exploiting those pockets is allegedly run by a personal injury lawyer. His name is Ikhilov. He goes by Eric.
Okay.
And he's coordinating this enormous network. We're talking medical clinics, imaging centers, orthopedic surgeons, all working together.
Okay, so targeting deep pockets totally makes sense on paper. But I'm stuck on this massive gap between a scratched bumper and a multi-million-dollar payout.
Yeah, it's a huge leap.
Right, so how does a legal syndicate actually force an insurance company to pay out millions for a crash where, honestly, no one was actually hurt?
Well, the whole mechanism relies entirely on exploiting a specific loophole. It's New York's no-fault insurance law.
Okay, break that down for me.
So the law was originally designed for a good reason, right? To reduce court cases and just get people paid quickly after an accident.
Makes sense.
Right. So if you are in a minor crash in New York, your own insurance covers your basic medical bills and lost wages up to $50,000. And that's regardless of who caused the accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that system's called personal injury protection, or PIP.
So if I'm in a crash and I just have a sore neck, PIP pays for my physical therapy and I just go on with my life. I don't have to sue anyone.
Exactly, that's how it's supposed to work.
Sure.
And to keep the courts from getting completely clogged with minor disputes, the law includes a really important catch.
Which is?
You are legally barred from filing a massive lawsuit against the other driver for pain and suffering unless you meet a very specific threshold.
A threshold.
Yeah. You have to prove to the court that the crash caused a quote-unquote serious injury.
So what counts as a serious injury?
The statute defines it as something undeniable, like a fracture, dismemberment, a permanent loss of a body organ, or a really severe medically determined limitation of a body function.
Oh, wow. Okay, I mean, let's unpack this. It's essentially like a twisted video game.
A video game. How so?
Well, to unlock the boss level, which is the $1 million personal injury lawsuit, You have to accumulate enough points. You need to prove you have a serious injury.
That's a really good way to put it.
Right. But in a normal system, you have independent doctors and ERs acting as like anti-cheat software.
Yes.
So if you just have a bruised shoulder, the doctor notes it, you don't cross the threshold, and you're stuck in the base game. The maximum payout is just the standard medical reimbursement.
Exactly. But what this article complaint alleges is that this syndicate basically built their own private servers to bypass that anti-cheat software. Yeah. If the accident itself didn't produce a serious injury, well, they just had to manufacture the medical paper trail to satisfy a judge that the threshold was crossed.
So they just faked the points.
Basically.
Right.
They owned or controlled the clinics, the MRI reads, the surgeons. It allowed them to write their own cheat codes and fabricate the injuries they needed for the lawsuit.
Okay, but this brings up a massive psychological question for me.
Okay, what is it?
Let's say a claimant is recruited into one of these staged swoop-and-squat crashes, right? They go to the emergency room, the ER doctor examines them and says, "You're totally fine, take some Advil, go home with an ice pack."
Which happens a lot.
Yeah. So how do you convince that perfectly healthy person to eventually lie down on an operating table and let a surgeon literally cut into their spine?
It's wild, I know. The complaint actually details this whole process. They call it the fraudulent treatment protocol.
The fraudulent treatment protocol sounds ominous.
It is. It functions exactly like an assembly line. And it relies heavily, heavily on financial entrapment.
Okay, how does that work?
As soon as the claimant leaves the ER, these legal coordinators intercept them, and they funnel them into this closed-loop network of what they call gatekeeper providers.
Gatekeepers, like they control who gets in and out.
Exactly. These are clinics chosen specifically to just initiate this relentless, high-volume cascade of treatments.
Yeah, the logistics outlined in the document are staggering. There's this one specific address highlighted over and over.
Oh, right. 632 Utica Avenue.
Yes. 632 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn. I mean, it's just a single building, but it houses multiple physical therapy, chiropractic, and acupuncture clinics.
All under one roof.
Right. And patients are sent to this one address for high-cadence serial visits. We are talking about individuals going to the same building over 120 times in a matter of months.
120 times.
That is a massive time commitment for someone who supposedly isn't even injured. How do they get people to do that?
Well, the time commitment is actually part of the conditioning, and it serves a very specific legal purpose. You see, the clinics aren't trying to heal the patient.
Wait, they don't want them to get better.
No, because if the patient gets healthy, the potential for a massive lawsuit completely evaporates.
Oh, of course.
The whole goal of this gatekeeper protocol is just to check regulatory boxes.
What kind of boxes?
Well, to justify extreme measures like surgery to an insurance company or a judge, you first have to document that conservative treatments have completely failed.
I see.
Right? You have to show that, quote, 120 physical therapy sessions have utterly failed to relieve the patient's pain.
So they are basically just building a paper fortress. The patient endures 120 sessions just so the file can officially state conservative care failed.
Exactly. And once that specific box is checked, the whole protocol escalates.
Escalates how?
The patient is then sent to pain management specialists, and these specialists administer interventional pain injections.
Like just a regular shot?
Oh no, these are not standard shots. They involve injecting steroids or anesthetics directly into the epidural space around the spinal cord, or into the facet joints of the spine.
Yikes. That sounds intense.
They are very painful, highly invasive, and they carry their own real medical risks.
But again, why would a healthy person agree to an epidural injection they don't even need?
And this is where the litigation loans come in. This is the financial entrapment I mentioned.
Okay, let's get into that.
Early in the process, these coordinators often connect the claimants with these predatory, high-interest litigation funding companies.
Like payday loans for lawsuits.
Exactly. The claimant might take out a loan for, say, a few $1,000s just to cover rent or living expenses, while they're supposedly, quote-unquote, too injured to work.
Oh, man, I see where this is going. The interest rates on those kinds of loans are notoriously astronomical.
They compound so rapidly. A patient might borrow $5,000, and within a year, they suddenly owe $20,000 or $30,000.
It's terrifying.
It is. And the only way to pay off that kind of crushing debt is to secure the massive 6- or 7-figure settlement from the lawsuit. But the lawyers turn around and tell them, hey, we can't get you that settlement unless your injuries look severe enough on paper.
Wow. So the patient is completely trapped.
Completely. They feel compelled to undergo the injections and eventually even the surgeries just to inflate the settlement enough to escape the debt they accrued during the early stages of the scheme.
That is incredibly dark, just pure financial coercion. But, there is a glaring mechanical issue here that I'm trying to wrap my head around.
What's that?
Okay, before any surgeon can perform a massive spinal fusion, they absolutely need an MRI.
Right. Yes, that's standard medical protocol.
You can fake a wince during physical therapy, and you can just say an injection didn't work. But a machine doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't.
If the person's spine is totally fine, the MRI scan is going to show a perfectly healthy spine. So how on earth do they bypass the imaging?
That is the genius and the horror of it. They didn't alter the actual digital images from the MRI machine.
Wait, they didn't?
No. The enterprise allegedly controlled the radiology providers who were writing the reports.
Oh.
See, the insurance companies and the courts, they rarely ever look at the raw black and white images. They rely almost entirely on the written diagnostic report generated by the radiologist.
I'm looking at the evidence referenced in the complaint right now. It's from a related federal criminal case against a facility called Nextray.
Right, which also operated under the name Soul Radiology.
Yes, Soul Radiology. The investigators actually intercepted text messages between the financier of the clinics, this guy named Bradley Pierre, and the nominal medical owner, Dr. William Weiner.
Those texts are a smoking gun.
They really are. I mean, Pierre is texting Dr. Weiner, and he literally types out the clinic's internal business slogan. He says, quote, "Reads are important. It's not just the scan, it's the read."
It's unbelievable they put that in writing.
And he goes on, he tells Dr. Weiner, "You need to find a young radiology and train him read like you. This is a big brand we're building. No joke."
I mean, they are essentially discussing the total fabrication of medical diagnoses via text message.
Which is casual fraud over text.
Yeah. The entire business model required the MRI reports to show bulging discs or tears, totally regardless of what the human anatomy inside the scanner actually looked like.
And the text messages get even more explicit when they discuss a radiologist who wasn't playing along.
Yes. Dr. Moriarty.
Right, there is a doctor mentioned, Dr. Moriarty.
Dr. Moriarty is such a crucial example of how this whole thing operated. She was reviewing the MRIs of these claimants and, actually writing honest reports.
Like a real doctor?
Exactly. If she saw a healthy spine, she wrote down that there was zero pathology and no injury whatsoever.
Which is exactly what a radiologist is supposed to do.
Right. But when Bradley Pierre realized what she was doing, he texted Dr. Weiner demanding immediate intervention. He actually stated that Moriarty's honest reads were going to, quote, kill the business.
Wow. He explicitly ordered that she be stopped because, as he put it in the text, personal injury attorneys will not pay for healthy scans.
Yep. They were systematically firing or just marginalizing any doctor who told the medical truth.
Because the truth didn't generate the necessary points to unlock that boss-level lawsuit.
Precisely. The clinical reality was entirely subordinated to the legal strategy.
It's chilling. It really is. I want to take all of these moving parts, though, the legal loopholes, the 120 clinic visits, the litigation loans, the manipulated MRIs, and see how they apply to a single physical event detailed in the complaint.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's look at the events of August 6th, 2019. It really shows the sheer absurdity of the timeline.
The Linden Boulevard sideswipe in Brooklyn.
That's the one.
This is honestly one of the most comprehensive case studies in the entire 92-page filing.
It really paints a picture. So it's a minor sideswipe involving a FedEx truck. There are 3 people in the passenger car referred to in the document as claimants A, B, and C.
Let's start with claimant A. Let's trace his journey first.
Okay, so right after the bump, he goes to the emergency room at Brookdale University Hospital. He complains of right shoulder pain.
Just the shoulder?
Just the shoulder. The report says he explicitly denies having any head, neck, or back pain. The ER staff does an x-ray. There are absolutely no broken bones, no dislocations, no severe trauma.
So what do?
They send him home with a muscle relaxer and some anti-inflammatories. No neck brace, no crutches, nothing.
But of course, within days, claimant A enters the funnel.
Naturally.
He shows up at the clinic at 632 Utica Avenue. And suddenly, despite telling the ER his back was completely fine, his new medical file claims he has severe neck and mid-back pain.
The paperwork begins.
Yep. And over the next several months, he goes back to that single building over 120 times for physical therapy and acupuncture.
And he is sent for MRIs, right?
He is.
And remarkably, even within this corrupt system, his initial MRIs actually come back negative for any tears.
Which is surprising, given what we just talked about.
Right. He is also evaluated by an independent medical examiner who is board certified.
And what do they say?
That independent doctor examines claimant A and concludes he has a totally normal range of motion, the initial minor injuries are completely resolved, and he needs zero further treatment.
And yet, the assembly line just keeps rolling. The file dictates that conservative care has failed, regardless of reality.
Right. So claimant A is sent to an orthopedic surgeon named Dr. Thompson.
Okay, to the shoulder.
Yes. Dr. Thompson examines the shoulder, which, remember, the ER x-ray showed was perfectly intact, and diagnoses a dislocated humerus. He then actually performs arthroscopic surgery on that shoulder.
Unbelievable.
And it escalates from the shoulder to the spine. Claimant A is then sent to another surgeon, Dr. Alexios Epizidis.
And keep in mind, this patient had zero complaints of back pain at the scene of the accident. None.
Exactly. But Dr. Epizidis eventually performs an L5-S1 laminectomy and a spinal fusion.
Okay, we really need to pause here and define what an L5-S1 laminectomy actually is.
Yeah, please do, because it sounds serious.
Okay, because the clinical terminology kind of masks the absolute brutality of the procedure. This is not an outpatient scope, okay?
Right.
The surgeon is physically cutting into the lower back. They are removing the lamina, which is the back part of the vertebra that covers your spinal canal, and they are removing bone spurs or disc material.
Oh my God.
And then they insert metal rods, plates, and screws to permanently fuse those vertebrae together. It completely alters the mechanics of the human spine for the rest of the patient's life.
It is a devastating, irreversible surgery.
Truly irreversible.
And they are doing this to a man who walked away from a 5-mile-an-hour fender bender with a slightly sore shoulder.
It's just staggering.
But the timeline of the other passengers in that exact same car is even more brazen.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at the driver, claimant C.
Okay, claimant C goes through the protocol and is sent to a Dr. King for right knee pain.
The documentation around claimant C's knee reveals just a complete total disregard for actual medical history.
How so?
Well, Dr. King's own internal records indicate that he actually reviewed an MRI of claimant C's knee from 2018.
Wait, 2018? That is a full year before the FedEx truck ever even sideswiped them.
Exactly. And that old MRI from 2018 showed a pre-existing torn meniscus and significant ligament damage. The knee was already wrecked.
So Dr. King looks at the 2018 MRI showing a ruined knee, completely ignores it in his final report, documents that there was zero prior injury, and blames the severe knee damage entirely on the minor FedEx tap.
Yep.
And then he performs a massive knee surgery just to bill the insurance.
It is an overt, deliberate fabrication of causality. There's no other way to look at it.
Unbelievable. But the situation with claimant B pushes the whole timeline into the realm of the truly surreal.
Claimant B is the wildest part of this whole case.
So claimant B was also in the passenger seat during the FedEx bump.
Right. He enters the funnel, starts doing the clinic visits, but then in June 2020, which is nearly a year after the minor FedEx fender bender, claimant B gets into a horrific head-on motorcycle crash.
Oh, wow.
EMS rushes him to the hospital. He has severe leg pain, massive headaches, major trauma.
I mean, you would think a severe head-on motorcycle crash would immediately become the primary medical focus.
You would think so, but it doesn't.
Wait, really?
Really. Despite the massive head-on collision, claimant B still just proceeds right down the assembly line established for the FedEx accident.
You're kidding?
I'm not. He gets a spinal discectomy and a neck fusion, and the medical reports blame the need for those extreme, life-altering surgeries on the minor FedEx bumper tap from a year earlier.
They just entirely dismiss the horrific motorcycle crash that literally just happened.
Completely ignored it. They're basically operating in an alternate reality.
An alternate reality where the only physics that actually matter are the ones that connect back to FedEx's commercial insurance policy.
Precisely.
But there is a very specific piece of evidence you highlighted in the outline for this deep dive, and it's regarding the surgical report.
Oh, the operative reports.
I'm looking at the section on Dr. Epizidis, the surgeon who performed the spinal fusions on claimant A and claimant B.
Right. The operative reports are really the ultimate proof of this being an assembly line.
Tell me more about that.
Well, when a surgeon performs any operation, they are legally and medically required to dictate an operative report.
Which is like a summary of the surgery.
It's more than a summary. It is a highly specific, totally individualized narrative of exactly what they found inside that specific patient's body. The unique anatomical variations they encountered, the precise steps they took to fix it.
Like a custom roadmap of a surgery.
Exactly. Because no two human spines are exactly identical, especially once you actually cut into them.
Right, that makes total sense.
Well, Dr. Epizidis performed cervical fusion surgeries on both claimant A and claimant B. Two totally different men with two totally different anatomies who just happened to be riding in the same car.
Okay.
When investigators finally pulled the operative reports for both of those surgeries to review the medical necessity, the reports were identical.
Wow, I am looking at the side-by-side comparison in the complaint right now. It isn't just that they had similar procedures, it is literally copied and pasted.
It is word for word identical. Dr. Apazidis submitted the exact same narrative for both men.
That is insane.
The listed indications for the procedure are the same. The description of making the incision, cutting through the muscle, the exact amount of blood loss, the placement of the hardware, every single sentence mirrors the other.
The investigators even note here that the two reports contain the exact same inconsistent spacing and the exact same grammatical errors.
Which is the ultimate giveaway.
Right. It is literally impossible for two complex spinal surgeries on two different humans to yield an identical surgical narrative right down to the typos.
It absolutely proves that the document wasn't a genuine record of a real medical procedure. It was just a pre-written template.
Just a template.
Yeah. The template existed solely to be submitted to an insurance company to justify the billing and to provide the necessary paperwork for the personal injury attorneys to file a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
So the surgery was just a physical mechanism to validate the paperwork.
The human body was just a prop for the lawsuit.
So zooming out from all these intricate details of Brooklyn clinics and text messages, what does a 92-page corporate RVO complaint actually mean for you, the listener?
That's the real question.
Because on the surface, this sounds like a corporate thriller where a massive logistics company is playing a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with a localized fraud ring.
Right. It sounds like a movie.
But the fallout from this exact mechanism hits your wallet directly.
The financial impact is entirely systemic. This type of organized high-volume fraud is a primary driver behind why auto insurance premiums skyrocket year after year for everyday drivers.
We all feel that pain.
Exactly. These syndicates drain billions, literally billions of dollars from the insurance pools. And the insurance companies don't just absorb those losses out of the goodness of their hearts.
No, they definitely don't.
They pass them right down to the consumer in the form of higher monthly premiums. You pay for this fraud every time you pay your car insurance.
It also has a devastating effect on the legal system, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It chokes the civil courts with thousands of these fraudulent, highly complex lawsuits.
Which means that people who are in legitimate, horrific accidents, people who actually really need compensation to rebuild their lives, they have to wait years to get a court date and actual justice.
Because the docket is completely clogged with fake spinal fusions and fabricated operative reports.
The financial and legal ramifications are massive. But honestly, the most lingering takeaway from this document goes far beyond stolen money or delayed court dates.
I agree completely. While FedEx is filing this to recoup financial losses, the underlying mechanism reveals a really profound, very dark reality about the exploitation of the human body.
You are talking about what actually happens inside those operating rooms.
Just consider the physical toll for a second. You have perfectly uninjured people, individuals who experienced a minor bumper tap and walked away totally fine. But through a combination of legal coercion, the threat of mounting debt from these predatory litigation loans, and a network of doctors who are clearly prioritizing billing over the Hippocratic Oath, these healthy people are convinced to undergo entirely unnecessary, highly invasive spinal surgeries.
It's hard to even fathom. You walk into a clinic with a healthy back, maybe it's a little stiff from the bump, and you walk out with pieces of your vertebrae permanently removed and titanium hardware permanently drilled into your bones.
It's horrifying. The financial fraud can be quantified and eventually repaid, but the physical damage inflicted on these recruits just to inflate a legal settlement is irreversible.
They are permanently altering human anatomy simply to hit a statutory threshold for a lawsuit.
That is the true hidden cost of the enterprise, detailed in these 92 pages.
It is a staggering reality to process. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the FedEx ARCO complaint. It serves as a sharp reminder to question the systems and incentives operating around you. Keep an extra close eye on your rearview mirror.